Hi everyone, welcome to HubShots, episode 95. The episode about traffic plus no conversion equals no business.
And speaking of traffic, I just got to say we're recording in a new location this week, so there is actually a bit of traffic noise in the background.
That's right, the very exciting military road.
That's just for context, so you remember.
So this is the podcast for marketing managers or sales professionals who are either considering using HubSpot or are using HubSpot. My name is Ian Jacob from Search and Be Found, and with me is Craig Bailey from XEN Systems. How are you, Craig?
Really good. And gee, wasn't it good at the Grow With HubSpot last week?
Fantastic. Well done to James Gilbert and the team. And Bertie.
Oh, yeah, Bertie. We've got to call out Bertie. Apparently she masterminded the whole thing. So
she
well
did.
Done. It was fantastic.
So now, Craig, we're going to talk a bit about Grow With HubSpot in the inbound thought of the week. Now, this came from James Gilbert's slides, and I thought this is very apt. Traffic plus no conversions equals no business.
Well, that's right. We've named the show episode after it because this is, I mean, it's so obvious, right? You read this and get, well, yes, of course. And yet, still the number of people who are just obsessed with traffic, but not actually what happens with the traffic on their site. So it's a really good presentation by James amongst a day of fantastic presentations.
Yes, it was the biggest Grow With HubSpot event to date.
They had more than 1,000 people there, which means probably there was 2,000 that registered, knowing usual kind of attendee rates. So amazing. Yeah,
and I really loved how they organised the day, and they had different people talking about the attracting stage, the consideration, and then the closing stage of the funnel. So people actually got an opportunity to learn at each of those stages what to do and what happens and best practices, really.
Yeah, and so we've included a link to the slide deck in the show notes, so you can go and check that out and download all the presentations. I'll call out my favourite presentation, then you can talk about yours. I really liked Brent and Varun's. They did a joint presentation looking at content in context. Thought it was really good. And then they looked at, landing pages, emails, tips for setting them out. So it's one of those slide decks. I like those slide decks when you can just go through the decks and actually still get value. You don't actually have to hear them commentating on the slide deck. So I definitely recommend theirs. And what was one of your highlights?
I really enjoyed Matt Barbie. He's a great storyteller.
He is a good storyteller.
And really, I think he really highlighted how much things have shifted. And if I look at it, like if you look 10 years ago when iPhone was introduced, which was this year, 10 years ago, the immense change that has taken place in the way we access and consume content. Like he really took us through a journey and what is to come. So, and we'll talk more about one of the things he said in one of the opinions, but just made me believe that we're travelling at a rapid pace and you've really got to be on top of everything.
It was good, and I like how you say storytelling. I'll just go completely off track here. You've got kids, right?
Yes.
And so you see the passage of time much more obviously than I do. We don't have kids, and so it's kind of like, oh, wow, time flies by. And I think that example of the iPhone is a good one. 10 years, it's kind of like, oh, wow, it has changed so much. And that's what was so good about his presentation. As you say, looking at the way things are changing and just, video and everything that's coming up, we'll be talking about that in future episodes as well.
I loved how he had a great thing in it, which I thought was really funny. So he said, this is how much things have changed, right? Back, let's say, in 1998, there were 147 million people online, right? There were dial-up modems, and the song by Will Smith, Getting Jiggy With It, would have taken 11 minutes to download, right?
Right.
And Rush Hour would have taken ages, 45 days.
Right, to download a movie.
Yeah,
that's right.
And now what do? We watch movies on our devices.
On demand, yeah.
On demand. We watch Netflix every night, and we get whatever we want, whenever we want, and wherever we want it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so we know that, right? So we kind of take that for granted now. And his point was, okay, it's not stopping today. Imagine what it's going to be like in 10 years' time from now. And so the changes are rapid, and in sales and marketing especially so.
All right, onto our marketing feature of the week, Craig, and this is the HubSpot marketing feature. There's some new reports.
I actually really like this. I've panned the reporting add-on before because I'm like, I don't want to pay for that, except in some circumstances. And we highlighted one in a previous episode where it was perfect to pay for it. Now they're actually rolling out a whole bunch of extra reports in what is in the free dashboard. So you don't need the reporting add-on for these, for many of them. And I really like this one, the marketing qualified leads by breakdown by source.
By source.
I think this is really useful. In fact, one of the examples I had previously was around using the reporting add-on to try and get this across the different life cycle stages.
Yes.
Here's a really nice report showing where they came from. And it's actually interesting when you show this to people and say, actually, do you realise this is the breakdown where they're coming through? Because often it's a different breakdown to what leads are. You see the ratios. Leads. We've got a huge amount of leads from here. But actually, marketing qualified leads came from this source. And this really highlights it well.
Yeah. I think that's a really key piece of information that people can often miss.
And that's only one of many. They've got a few.
That's right.
Rolling out. So make sure, and that slipped through.
It did slip through. Actually,
you didn't see the nice little orange dot up there going ding ding. Here's new reports, or maybe I just missed it. But yeah, it's good.
It's definitely not highlighted very well. Let's put it that way. Now, the not so good part. LinkedIn ads is going.
I know.
At the end of July.
I was sad to see this, and I'm not exactly sure why. When we talked about them removing support for social posting to LinkedIn groups, now that was because LinkedIn was pulling it out of the API.
Correct.
This one, we're not actually sure why HubSpot's pulling it out. Maybe it just wasn't used much, or we were kind of speculating. It wasn't worth it for them. But I'm sad to see it go because I was actually using it.
Well, there you go. You can't use it no more.
Listeners can't see my sad face.
All right, Craig, on to our marketing tip of the week. And it's using Facebook to build audiences based on people who've engaged with your Instagram business profile. Yeah, just a quickie pointing off to John Loomer, who, as usual, has a good article about this. But Facebook and Instagram are so... integrated now in terms of what you can do from the advertising side of things. This is just one other aspect. So when you've linked your Instagram profile, and by the way, you might have a personal profile, you can switch it to business and then link that to your Facebook page. You can actually then build a Facebook audience to target people who've interacted with your Instagram business profile. And that could just be they've interacted with a post. It doesn't actually have to be your profile. Exactly. It could be one of your posts. So it's just getting really more powerful. Yeah, and I think that's a really good thing. And I think a takeaway from that is, even if you're not going to run any ads, go make sure you create that audience in Facebook. All right, and another thing I want to say is about emails that drive purchase. Now, this is a marketing prof's bit of content, and here's an interesting fact. Some 92% of consumers say sales and discounts are an important factor that they take into account when deciding whether to purchase from a marketing email. Brand reputation ranks second at 90%, followed by ease of transaction at 88%, and the ease of online mobile purchasing at 74%. Now, I get this because it's interesting. Like, I've been doing a bit of shopping online, and the other day I put something in the cart and totally forgot about it, and then got an email not long after, maybe like 24 hours, saying, hey, you put this in your shopping cart and you never actually completed the transaction. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. I'll go back and do that, right? And because there was a sale, I think it wasn't a massive sale, small sale, but still a decent saving. I'm like, oh, I should go finish the transaction. So I think that was really useful to me, that I just didn't forget about it. Yeah, I think so as well. And that's a good example from your own personal experience. Here the stats are 92% of consumers. Like, this is really high. I think this is interesting because it's not... Most people wouldn't say it's that high. And in fact, I think a lot of people like to say, oh, I'm not influenced by sales. They don't manipulate me into buying. But actually the stats show otherwise. It's a very powerful piece of the transaction journey. And why marketers need to listen to this is because we'll often push back and say, oh, no, we don't want to always be on sale, or we don't want to be seen as just a discount place. Yet this is across all the brands. So you can be a big brand. Someone's going to say to me, oh, Apple don't, or they only do it once a year. Okay, sure, Apple's a special case. But most of the big brands, we know that Amazon, for example, you get that Tuesday email. Here, this is what's on special this week. So no one's saying, they're diluting their brand. Sure, Amazon competes on price, so that is where they're in the market. But across big brands, we see this happening, and that's the reality of e-commerce these days. It needs to be part of the marketing strategy. On to our HubSpot sales feature of the week, Craig. Now, this is also something that popped up into the What's New section, and this is to set properties for moving deal stages. Now, I really like this because we tried this out. So I'm going to give us a little example. Say someone's requested a quote, and that's the deal stage you're in. Previously, you might have actually just put that quote's been requested. Good. Thank you very much. And away we go. and then you forget to actually send the quote. So what this enables us to do is actually maybe create a custom field or set a date of when that's actually due and actually have that as a dependent field that needs to be completed. So when you move the deal stage, it says, okay, well, when is this due? Fill in the date. Then you won't forget it, and you can actually track what's going on, and you're living up to what you said you would do.
I really like this feature. I think this is an advanced feature. I was surprised to see HubSpot put it in, because this is the kind of thing I think, oh yeah, that's what you'd get in Salesforce. No, HubSpot's putting in these kind of features. Yeah. It's really nice. We've got a few screenshots there for that example that you just outlined too.
That's right. All right, Craig, on to our opinion of the week. And I bring up this opinion. It's about buying HubSpot, but actually not taking the time to understand and use it. And then I think it just becomes a really expensive purchasing decision that someone's made with a really poor return on investment.
So let me ask you this, like surely people wouldn't just pay, because HubSpot is not cheap in their Pro and Enterprise versions, right? It's a costly tool. Surely people wouldn't just pay for it and not do anything with it.
Well, you might be surprised, but people do.
I can't get over the way. Yeah, it's like people just have money that they want to give away sometimes.
And then they want to upgrade to Enterprise and still do nothing with it. Or buy more licenses. So I've actually said no to people. And I'll tell you why. Because, I mean, it's great for us because, like, people who are selling and, wanting to sell licenses, yes, it adds to your sales. But really, does it help the customer? No. So I think we've become really aware how important implementation is and how important just using it and understanding it. I think a lot of people say they get it, but they really don't get it. Like when you really dig a little bit deeper, they don't know what's going on. And I think as marketers and sales, we need to really be careful about A, that we're giving the right solution to the customer, and B, is it going to solve the problem that they're actually after to be solved? Or are they just looking at a nice new shiny object that they can tell their friends about? I got the Ferrari, but I got no fuel in the car to drive it anyway. It's sitting in the parking lot.
Yeah, you see, it's actually worse than that because one, there's the cost, the lost cost, right? I just paid X dollars for Enterprise HubSpot. So that was actually a cost. But then there's the opportunity cost because if you don't implement it, not only have you not wasted your purchase price, but you've actually wasted the opportunity you have, and you could actually be losing substantially more revenue. And that's the frustrating thing. And when you were telling me about this particular example, I was like, couldn't believe it. And yet we see it all the time, or we see HubSpot put in and hardly implemented somewhat,
Well, you've seen accounts like that. We've been on.
Yeah, they hardly do anything, and then they think the tool's magically going to do it themselves, or they've got other priorities. So yeah,
exactly.
Get involved, do some of the training, or talk to us, or get a partner agency, or talk to HubSpot. You can actually call HubSpot, and they'll actually help you for free, kind of, with customer support. They'll talk you through some of this stuff. And
you know what? Academy's there's quick answers there. There are so many points of help that can actually help you get stuff done. There's the projects in the tool, which will guide you step by step to go, okay, click on this link, go fill this out, then fill that out. Like, it is doable, but it is a lot of work. So don't be phased, or I guess don't be misguided that it's easy. It does take time and effort.
You know what I'm going to do here? We hadn't actually planned this, listeners, in the show. I'm actually say go to our consulting page on HubShots. We've actually got a menu item that says consulting with us. You get a 30-minute free consultation. Just book it in, chat to us if you're underutilizing HubSpot, and we'll just give you a few pointers that you can get going. Yeah. Like it doesn't have to be this overwhelming, I don't know what to do. We'll actually just give you some key takeaways, just get started. You'll actually get value straight away.
That's right. Great one, Craig.
There you go, plug over. Yeah.
All right, on to our creative top 10 of the week, Craig. And this is 10 creative ideas for driving traffic Google to an accounting website.
Yes, and I thought this we'd look at free Google traffic because you could get paid Google traffic. We're just going to talk about free Google traffic to your website if you're an accountant, an accounting practice. All right,
so I think the first thing is make sure your Google My Business listing is up to date. And on that page now, you can actually add events and things that are going on and special opening times if you're opening at different times. Another key aspect to that is it actually shows up on the map. So people often today will search on Google Maps about what are the nearest accounting practices.
I'll just do a location based. So they go accountants, Chatswood.
That's right. Or accountants near me.
Yeah, the first listings are Google My Business listing, which is why we actually say, yeah.
All right, next one. Keyword research to find the keywords to use on your page titles and content on your site. So this is really key. I think about things about what problems you solve. Understand what page titles and meta descriptions are, and this is what Google uses. So be really clear. I mean, I'm sure if you're in accounting, right, when you talk about, say, a family trust, for example, it's not going to be anything but a family trust. You know what I mean? There's no other version of that. So be really specific with what you're talking about and make it relevant to the people that are using your services.
Yeah, that's right. And speaking of page titles and meta descriptions, number 4, I always tell people, and I know you do the same, write your meta descriptions as if they're a call to action. So when you see them in Google, they actually don't help with your ranking, but they help with your click-throughs. And that's what we're talking about, driving free traffic to your site.
Yeah.
Get your meta descriptions in place.
Number 5, structure your pages with great headings, bullet points, subheadings, images, anything that helps you get your message across to your audience in a really good way. I saw an interesting stat today. I think it was actually one of the Grow With HubSpot slides. 70% of people skim through website pages and only 16% or so actually read everything on a page.
Actually, and I'll give you another tip on that, because they've done eye tracking where if you have a section at the bottom called conclusion, people will often skim through and they just read the conclusion. Now think about that, because I actually realise I do that now. And especially if it's a long article, I'll go the first third I'm reading, then I start skim. Oh, all right, and then the conclusion. And that's the one where you really have actually got a lot of attention with the visitor.
Number 6, include images with alt tags so the Google image search can identify
So what's an alt tag?
So it's like an alternate tag. And it's so basically, okay, let's say the image is about someone completing their BAS, right? So Google can't tell what it is. But in this alt text that you can actually input, you would actually put in there business owner completing BAS, right? So Google then goes, oh, that's a picture about business owner completing a BAS. So if someone looks for that and then look in the image search, it'll actually show up.
Yeah, so it has the advantage of image search, and also it's contextual. Yes. So when Google sees images related to that topic, it just adds to the authority of the overall content topic.
Yep. Number 7, adding video how-to guides that can be downloaded and viewed on your site. So I think that's really important. Again, video is a great place. Make sure your videos are actually native on YouTube. So load them on YouTube, have a channel. And if you're doing videos on Facebook, so make sure you load that video on Facebook. Don't share it off YouTube onto Facebook, but actually load it onto Facebook to be there.
All right, number 8, I'm actually going to talk about locations, because I think this is really important for accounting practices.
Yes.
Make sure you include locations, page titles, your contact page. I actually recommend you put it on your home page as well, locations down the bottom.
Yes.
Because the home page is can be in the footer, or it actually can be in part of the body of the page, because it is so important for these kind of professional services businesses, and the home page is the most frequently indexed, especially if you've got blogs appearing on the home page as well. It's getting indexed as well, so location is prominent, and then that actually helps with location specific searches.
Number 9, start a blog. Can be as simple as doing latest news like new tax rulings and things that are coming up.
And when it comes to the blog, just listen to what your clients are asking questions about and just write up a quick answer and reply, Q&A post.
Another thing, make sure your site is responsive and works on mobiles.
Okay, so we're getting into some technical ones here.
Yep.
Must be responsive. Can't highlight this enough. And in fact, if you look at your accounting site now and it doesn't work on your mobile, it's worth putting the money into getting a web developer to just switch the theme and update it so that it will work on mobile. Very important.
Right. Oh, we're on to number 13, Craig. Are sites you sponsor or that you've got listings on to make sure that you've got a link back to your website? So make sure that's correct and pointing to the appropriate page on your site.
Yeah, I'll give you a common example. They might sponsor a local sports team or be involved in a community thing. Just get that link back from that site. Number
14, make sure Google Analytics is installed on your pages so you can actually figure out what's going on, where people are going, where they're falling off, what the bounce rates are, which is when people land and take off immediately, and see what content is resonating with people.
And finally, make sure you update professional directory listings, point back to your profile on your website.
Yeah, so example, if you're a chartered accountant or a CPA, you will probably have a listing on one of those sites. Make sure that's correct. Make sure you would link, if it's something about you, link back to that profile page about yourself from that CPA directory or CA directory.
All right, we better stop there. That's more than 10. We could go on all night with tips. Hopefully there's a few to get you started there.
All right, and now we're going to talk the resource of the week, Craig, which is the biggest trends and changes in AdWords so far in 2017. I'm not going to go too much into it. It's a great article. Have a read. There's lots of mentions about artificial intelligence and machine learning, which is happening right across the board. Happens in HubSpot, happens in Google, happens in Facebook. It's happening everywhere. But how much that's driving a lot of change. And look, when we do stuff with Google, let's say about 3 changes on the AdWords platform every day, nothing stays the same. So it's really important. And I think they're trying to make it easier, but also you've got to work with someone that actually understands what's going on to get to the best possible result. It's like tuning a car. You go to the guy that knows how to tune the car to get the maximum out of it. All right, on to our quote of the week, Craig. And this is from Dharmesh. If your software solves a problem people don't care about, adding AI is unlikely to help.
I think this is great because, everyone's adding AI to everything. It's kind of like adding AI to my toaster at home and, it's kind of like, where's it going to stop? And I think his point is pretty apt. Make sure it's actually a problem that's being solved.
Exactly.
On your Dharmesh.
All right, on to finally our podcast of the week. And this is from Inbound After Hours. So this is another agency in the UK called Digital 22.
And this is a new podcast. I think they're up to 8 or so episodes so far.
Yes.
Or by the time you hear us, because we're recording on the 19th of July, but this episode probably won't come out for another 3 or 4 weeks. But yeah, they'll be more by then. But yeah, just stumbled across this because I saw it tweeted on Twitter, and you've actually listened to an episode or two, and it's quite good. So great to hear another HubSpot-related podcast.
Yeah, so have a listen to that and see what you think. Well, Craig, on that happy note, we would love you to leave us a review on iTunes, join our Facebook and WhatsApp groups, and be involved. Until next time, Craig.
Catch you later, Ian. Hey there, thanks for listening to this episode of HubShots. For show notes and the latest HubSpot news and tips, please visit us at hubshots.com.